Good day, guys. Welcome to New Anatomy Zone. This is a follow-up video tutorial on our teaching on the meninges, the meningeal covering of the brain. So in this lesson, we're going to pick up from where we left off in the meninges. The other time we said that the meningeal layer of the dura mater at some point reflect into certain features as in FISSURES. It reflects into certain features in the brain to form what we call dura reflections or reduplicated dura. Okay. Now these dura reflections of the dura reflections or reduplicated dura are reflections of the dura mater into features in the brain. Okay. The dura reflections are 4 in number. Okay, and they are: 1, we have the falx cerebri. 2, we have the falx cerebelli. 3, we have diaphragmatics. We have tentorium cerebelli, and 4, we have diaphragmatic cella. Okay, the falx cerebri is formed by the reflection of the dura mater into the longitudinal fissure. Remember the longitudinal fissure that separates the cerebral hemisphere into right and left cerebral hemisphere. Now, the meningeal layer of the dura mater reflects to fill this longitudinal fissure, okay, forming what we call the falx cerebri. Okay. Now, the falx cerebelli is located along the longitudinal fissure of the cerebellum. Okay. The longitudinal fissure of the cerebellum divides the cerebellum into right and left cerebellar hemispheres. Okay, it's not that fissure of the cerebellum is not as prominent as the longitudinal fissure of the cerebrum. Okay. Next, we have the tentorium cerebelli. The tentorium cerebelli fills the transverse fissure. The transverse fissure is the fissure that separates the cerebral hemisphere superiorly from the cerebellum inferiorly. Okay, it lies at the posterior. It lies at the posterior cranial fissure. It lies at the posterior cranial fossa. Okay, in the posterior cranial fossa, that's at the back of the head. Immediately after the occipital lobe of the cerebrum. When you move inferior a little, you get to. When you move down a little, when you move inferior a little, you get to the cerebellum. Okay, but before you get to the cerebellum, as you move from the occipital lobe, before you get to the cerebellum, there is a space there which is called the transverse fissure. The meningeal layer of the dura mater reflects inward to fill this transverse fissure, forming what we call the tentorium cerebelli. And this tentorium cerebelli separates the occipital lobe of the cerebrum superiorly from the cerebellum inferiorly. Okay, and then lastly we have the diaphragmatic cella. The diaphragmatic cella is the last of the reduplicated dura or dura reflections. The diaphragmatic cella lines the cella toscica, which houses the pituitary gland. Now, the pituitary gland sits on top of a protrusion of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Okay. Now, this protrusion, which is a modification of the petrous part of temporal bone, is known as cella toscica. Okay, because it looks like a cellar that was used in ancient Turkey. Okay, so the meningeal layer of the dura mater reflects inward to line this petrous part of temporal bone, forming what we call the cella toscica. Okay, the pituitary gland sits on top of this cella toscica. Okay, so that is that for the dura reflections or reduplicated dura. Now there is something I do want you to know before I go. The space between the dural mater, that's the periosteal layer of the dural mater, and the bony cranium is known as epidural space. Okay, a lot of times it is filled with fat. Okay, And now, the space between the meningeal layer of the dural matter and the arachnoid matter is known as subdural space. Okay? Now, the space between the periosteal layer of the dural matter and the meningeal layer of the dural matter is modified to form what we call the dural venous sinuses. The space between the two layers of the dural matter, remember the dural matter is double layered. The space between the two layers of the dural matter is modified to form special drainage channels, which are known as the dural venous sinuses. We're going to talk about that in our next video, okay? Now, the space between the arachnoid matter and the pia matter is called the subarachnoid space, meaning the space that is underneath the arachnoid matter, okay? This subarachnoid space is usually filled with cerebrospinal fluid, and all the blood vessels that supplies the cerebrum, they are found in the subarachnoid space. Okay, so we stop here for now. In our next video, we're going to talk about dural venous sinuses in details. Okay, now this is neuroanatomy zone. You have stay tuned for more of our videos. Okay, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Okay, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever we upload a new video. Okay, all right. Stay tuned. God bless you, and stay tuned for more.